Operation Prometheus began with a single transmission from Admiral Helen Davis to every human ship, base, and resistance cell on Earth. The message was simple and final. The enemy has chosen to destroy our world rather than accept defeat. We choose to destroy them rather than accept extinction. No prisoners, no mercy, no survivors. Captain Ryan Brooks received the transmission aboard his modified ship Liberty as he prepared for what everyone knew would be the final battle. Around him, 11 other human vessels faced the entire remaining Vakari fleet of 150 ships. "You heard the Admiral," Brooks told his crew. "Today we find out if humanity deserves to survive." The alien bombardment began exactly as expected. Massive energy beams reached down from space toward Earth's major cities. But instead of finding defenseless targets, they found something the Vakari had not anticipated. Shields. Dr. Linda Foster had spent the last week working on her greatest achievement. Using captured alien technology and human innovation, she had created planetary defense shields that could absorb and redirect energy attacks. "How are you doing this?" War Prime Thexkar demanded as his flagship's bombardment was reflected harmlessly into space. His tactical officer studied the readings with confusion. "War Prime, the humans appear to have created a planetary defense grid using our own technology. Our bombardment is being absorbed and converted into power for their systems." "That's impossible. We destroyed their power grid days ago. Apparently, War Prime, they built a new one." What the aliens didn't understand was that humans had turned Earth itself into a weapon. Every captured alien device had been connected to a global network that used the planet's magnetic field as a power source. The more the aliens attacked, the stronger Earth's defenses became. Captain Brooks led the human fleet in what appeared to be another desperate attack against impossible odds. But this time, the humans had advantages the aliens couldn't see. "All ships, execute Prometheus Alpha," Brooks commanded. The human ships split up and attacked in a pattern that looked completely random. Some flew directly at alien vessels, others veered away at the last second, and still others seemed to attack nothing at all. To the Vakari computers, it looked like human pilots had lost their minds, but there was method in the madness. Each human ship was equipped with Dr. Foster's latest innovation, weapons that became more powerful the more they were used. Every shot fired, every hit taken, every system damaged made the weapons stronger. "Liberty to all ships," Brooks called out as his vessel traded fire with an alien battleship. "Remember, we get stronger when we get hurt. They get weaker." It was true. Alien ships were designed to perform perfectly under ideal conditions, but human ships were designed to keep fighting under any conditions. As the battle continued, the performance gap began to shift in humanity's favor. On the ground, Major Alex Turner was leading the final assault on alien command positions. His soldiers moved through the ruins of Denver with weapons that had been impossible a week ago and tactics that were impossible for anyone but humans. "Turner to all ground units," he radioed. "The aliens are pulling back to their landing zones. Don't let a single ship escape." Sergeant Amy Rodriguez led her squad through the alien defenses like they weren't there. The Vakari had built perfect fortifications designed to stop perfect attacks. Amy's squad used imperfect attacks that somehow worked better. "How are we winning?" "This!" asked one of her soldiers as they overran another alien position. "Because we're not trying to fight perfectly," Amy explained while planting explosives on an alien transport. "We're trying to fight effectively." The difference was crucial. The aliens fought to minimize losses and maximize efficiency. Humans fought to win, regardless of cost or logic. War Prime Thexkar stood in his command center, watching his empire's greatest fleet being systematically destroyed by a species he had dismissed as primitives. The impossible was happening. The Vakari were losing. "War Prime," his aide said desperately, "we have lost over half our fleet. Ground forces are reporting complete breakdown of defensive positions. Request permission to withdraw." Thexkar looked at the tactical display. Human ships that should have been destroyed hours ago were still fighting. Human soldiers that should have been overwhelmed were advancing. Human technology that should have failed was performing miracles. Withdraw to where? Thexkar asked bitterly. When the Empire learns we were defeated by primitives, there will be no place for us in the galaxy. Then what do we do? Thexkar made the decision that would end the Vakari Empire forever. Send a message to all our ships. Fight to the death. If we cannot win, we die with honor. But the aliens had forgotten that humans could intercept their communications. Admiral Davis heard Thexkar's final order and smiled grimly. So they want to die with honor, she said to her staff. We'll help them with that. Davis opened a channel to Captain Brooks in space and Major Turner on the ground. All units, the enemy has chosen death before surrender. Grant their request. No alien ship leaves this system. No alien soldier leaves this planet. Commander Jake Sullivan watched from his orbital station as the final phase of the battle unfolded. Human ships that had seemed outgunned and outnumbered were now hunting alien vessels like predators. Jake, called Lisa Carter from her station, I'm reading something incredible. Human ships are not just winning, they're learning. Each engagement makes them more effective. It was true. Dr. Foster's adaptive technology meant that every battle taught human systems how to fight better. The longer the war continued, the more advanced human weapons became. The aliens are fighting the same way they did on day one, Jake realized. But we're fighting better every hour. Captain Brooks demonstrated this perfectly when he encountered War Prime Thexkar's flagship. The alien vessel was 10 times larger than Liberty and carried enough firepower to destroy a moon. 6 hours ago, it would have been certain death to attack it. Liberty to Vakari flagship, Brooks transmitted. This is Captain Brooks of the human fleet. You came here to conquer us. Now you get to learn what it means to fight us. The battle between Liberty and the Vakari flagship lasted 17 minutes. When it was over, the flagship was drifting wreckage and Liberty was still fighting. How? Thexkar asked as his ship died around him. Brooks answered over the radio. Because you fight with technology. We fight with everything we have. On the ground, the last alien stronghold fell to Major Turner's assault at exactly the same moment. Amy Rodriguez personally captured the alien ground commander and brought him to Turner. Your war is over, Turner told the alien. Your fleet is destroyed. Your soldiers are defeated, and your empire will never threaten Earth again. The alien looked up at Turner with something like respect. You fight like demons. No, Turner replied. We fight like humans. There's a difference. Dr. Foster watched the final moments of the battle from her lab, monitoring the performance of every human system. What she saw would change humanity forever. Admiral, she reported to Davis, our technology is now superior to theirs in every measurable way. We have not only defeated their invasion, we have surpassed their entire civilization in 1 week. How is that possible? Because they stopped growing. They reached perfection and stopped trying to improve. We never stopped trying to get better. Admiral Davis stood in her command center as reports came in from across the solar system. The Vakari fleet was completely destroyed. Not a single alien ship had escaped. Not a single alien soldier had surrendered. Admiral, reported Commander Sullivan from orbit, all alien vessels are confirmed destroyed. Total human victory. Davis nodded slowly. Send a message to all human forces. The war is over. Earth is free. But even as she said it, Davis knew the real war was just beginning. The Vakari Empire would send more ships when they learned what had happened. Other alien species would come to investigate. Earth had announced its presence to the galaxy in the most dramatic way possible. Ma'am, asked her aide, what do we do now? Davis looked at the tactical display showing the wreckage of the alien fleet. Among the debris, human ships moved like sharks through bloody water. Earth's defenders had become Earth's protectors, and they were no longer the same species that had first detected alien signals a week ago. Now we make sure this never happens again, Davis said. We take the fight to them. Captain Brooks, his ship Liberty scarred but victorious, received new orders from Admiral Davis. Captain, You are hereby appointed commander of the first human deep space fleet. Your mission is to ensure that no alien force ever again threatens our solar system." Brooks looked at his crew, all of them changed by a week of impossible war. "Understood, Admiral. Where do we start?" "With the Vakari Empire. We have their navigation data, their technology, and their ship designs. We know where they come from." "And we're going there?" "We're going everywhere, Captain. Earth is no longer hiding from the galaxy. The galaxy is going to learn to hide from Earth." In the wreckage of his flagship, War Prime Thexkar used his final moments to send one last message to the Vakari Empire. It was not a request for help or a report of defeat. It was a warning. "To the Empire, do not send more ships to Earth. Do not attempt to conquer the humans. They are not primitives. They are something we have never encountered. They are something worse than death. They are the end of everything we believed about ourselves." The message would reach the Vakari. The massive crystal building stretched high into the purple sky of Nexus Prime. Inside the huge round room, beings from 12 different worlds sat in curved rows that went up like stairs. Each alien race looked different from the others. Some glowed with inner light. Others looked like living rocks. A few seemed to float in the air without touching anything. Daniel Wright sat alone in the human section. His simple black suit looked plain next to the fancy robes and strange armor worn by the other delegates. He held a basic tablet in his hands, while aliens around him whispered to each other in languages that sounded like music, growls, or electronic beeps. The room buzzed with talk about humanity's request to join the Galactic Council as full members. Most of the talk was not good. A tall blue creature with 4 arms spoke to its neighbor. "Humans? They barely know how to leave their own star system. Why do they think they belong here with us?" Near the front, a being made of living crystal turned its head. Light flashed through its body as it spoke. "I heard they still use chemical rockets for some of their ships. How backward can they be?" Daniel heard the translators in his ear change the alien words to English. He kept his face calm and wrote notes on his tablet. He had expected this. Earth's leaders had warned him that the older races would not welcome humanity easily. The Galactic Council had rules about new members. A species had to prove they were advanced enough to join. They needed to show they could travel between stars easily. They had to have peaceful contact with at least 3 other member races. Most important, they needed the approval of the current council members. Humanity had met the first 2 rules. Human ships now visited dozens of star systems. Earth had trade deals with the Centauri Alliance, the Tau Ceti Republic, and the Wolf 359 Mining Collective. But getting the Council's approval was much harder. A creature that looked like a giant slug with tentacles for arms raised itself up. This was Gorvash from the Nexari Trade Federation. When he spoke, green slime dripped from his mouth. "The human application is a joke," Gorvash said in his wet voice. "They have been in space for only 300 years. My people were building starships when humans still lived in caves and hunted animals with sharp sticks." Laughter filled the room. It sounded like wind chimes, grinding rocks, and electronic static all mixed together. Daniel kept writing on his tablet. He had heard worse insults during his trip to get here. A being of pure energy floated near the ceiling. This was luminous dawn from the ethereal communion. When it spoke, its voice sounded like singing. "Perhaps we should tell them to come back in 1,000 years. By then they might understand basic quantum physics." More laughter. Daniel looked up from his tablet for the first time. He saw beings who had ruled the galaxy for millions of years. They had seen empires rise and fall. They had watched stars be born and die. To them, humanity was just a baby taking its first steps. The leader of the council was Elder Kethvar from the Altarian Republic. His crystal body was bigger than the others and older, too. Deep blue light moved through him like slow lightning. When he spoke, His voice made the air vibrate. "We are here to discuss the human request for membership," HFY announced. "Each member race may speak their thoughts." One by one, the alien delegates stood to talk. Each speech was the same. Humans were too young, too primitive, too violent, too stupid to sit with the great races of the galaxy. The Vorthak Collective sent a robot to speak for them. Its metal voice was cold and factual. Humans have achieved faster than light travel for only 212 years. The average member species had such technology for at least 2,000 years before joining this council. A creature that looked like a walking tree swayed as it talked. The Woodland Federation votes against human membership. They have not shown the wisdom that comes with age. Their wars end only recently. They still fight among themselves over resources and territory. Daniel listened to each speech. He made more notes. Sometimes he looked up to study the speaker. His calm behavior seemed to amuse the aliens even more. Here was a human, sitting quietly while the most powerful beings in the galaxy explained why his species was not good enough to join them. Near the end of the speeches, Gorvash spoke again. The slug-like being's tentacles waved as he talked. "I have a suggestion," Gorvash said with a sound like wet laughter. "Perhaps we should give the humans observer status. They can watch our meetings and learn how a real civilization works. In maybe 1,000 years, when they grow up and stop acting like wild animals, we can vote again." The laughter was louder this time. Some aliens clapped their hands, tentacles, or claws. Others made sounds that meant approval in their cultures. They thought Gorvash had made a very funny joke. Daniel closed his tablet and stood up. The room became quiet as all eyes turned to him. He was much smaller than most of the other delegates. His simple clothes and plain appearance made him look weak next to the magnificent alien beings around him. HFY's crystal body flashed with light. "The human delegate requests permission to speak. This is granted for entertainment purposes." More quiet laughter rippled through the room. They expected Daniel to beg or make excuses. They thought he would try to convince them that humanity deserved a chance despite being so young and backward. Daniel walked to the speaking platform in the center of the room. His footsteps echoed in the sudden silence. Hundreds of alien eyes, sensors, and other ways of seeing focused on him. The moment felt heavy with expectation. He looked around the room slowly. He met the gaze of each delegate who had spoken against humanity. When he finally opened his mouth to speak, his voice was steady and strong. "Honored representatives of the Galactic Council," Daniel began, "you have made your opinions about humanity very clear. You see us as children. You think we are too young to understand the responsibilities of galactic citizenship. You believe we have nothing to offer your ancient and wise civilizations." He paused and smiled. It was not a friendly smile. "You are absolutely wrong." Daniel's words hit the council chamber like a physical blow. The laughter stopped. The whispers died. Every alien delegate leaned forward to hear what the human would say next. "You mock our 300 years in space," Daniel continued, his voice growing stronger. "You call us children because we are young compared to your ancient civilizations. But you have made a big mistake in how you judge us." He touched his tablet and a hologram appeared above the speaking platform. It showed Earth's history compressed into a timeline that floated in the air for everyone to see. "You see 300 years and think we are slow learners," Daniel said. "But look closer at what we accomplished in that short time. Look at how fast we moved from one achievement to the next." The hologram changed to show human progress through the centuries. Pictures of the first airplane appeared, then rockets, then spaceships. Numbers floated next to each image showing dates and time periods. "From our first powered flight to landing on our moon took us only 66 years, Daniel announced. "Most of your species needed centuries just to leave their home planets. The Vorthak Collective took 400 years to reach their moon. The Granite Lords needed 600 years. Murmurs began to spread through the chamber. Some delegates looked uncomfortable. They had not expected the human to have such detailed information about their histories. Daniel touched his tablet again. The hologram shifted to show more comparisons. From our first satellite to establishing colonies on other planets took us 90 years. The Ethereal Communion needed 300 years to do the same thing. The Nexari Trade Federation took 500 years. Gorvash the slug being writhed in his seat, his tentacles curled and uncurled with agitation. Speed means nothing without wisdom, he protested. You rush ahead without thinking. This proves you are not ready for serious responsibility. Does it? Daniel asked. He smiled again, and this time there was something dangerous in his expression. Let me show you what else we accomplished while you were taking your time to think. The hologram changed to display human technology, fusion reactors that powered entire cities, quantum computers that solved problems in seconds, medical devices that could regrow lost limbs, weapons that could crack asteroids in half. You dismiss our fusion drives as primitive, Daniel said, looking directly at the Vorthak robot. Yet we developed working fusion technology in 40 years. It took your people 200 years to achieve the same result. The robot's sensors flashed as it processed this information. Its database confirmed that Daniel was telling the truth. You laugh at our understanding of quantum mechanics, Daniel continued, turning to face Luminous Dawn. But we weaponized quantum entanglement for instant communication across any distance. We did this while your people were still debating whether quantum effects were real or imaginary. Luminous Dawn's energy form flickered with what might have been embarrassment. The ethereal communion had indeed spent centuries arguing about quantum theory before accepting it. Elder Kethvar's crystal body pulsed with bright blue light. Impressive progress, perhaps. But speed of advancement does not qualify a species for council membership. We require wisdom, stability, and proof of peaceful intentions. Daniel nodded as if he had expected this response. You want to know about wisdom? Let me tell you what real wisdom looks like. The hologram disappeared. Daniel stood alone on the platform with nothing but his voice and his conviction. Wisdom is not sitting in comfortable chambers debating philosophy for thousands of years, Daniel said. Wisdom is learning from history. Wisdom is preparing for threats before they arrive. Wisdom is understanding that peace must be defended, not just declared. He began to walk around the platform as he spoke. His movement was controlled but predatory, like a hunter circling his prey. You have all forgotten something important, Daniel continued. You have been safe and comfortable for so long that you have forgotten what it means to face real danger. You think wisdom comes from age and experience, but true wisdom comes from remembering that survival is never guaranteed. The alien delegates shifted in their seats. Some looked confused. Others appeared annoyed by the humans' boldness. Your civilizations are old and stable, Daniel said. You have solved your major problems. You have eliminated war, hunger, and disease. You have created perfect societies where everyone is happy and safe. He stopped walking and faced Elder Kethvar directly. And that is exactly why you need us. The chamber erupted in angry voices. Delegates shouted protests in a dozen languages. How dare this young human suggest that their achievements were weaknesses? How could he imply that their perfect civilizations needed anything from his barbaric species? Daniel waited for the noise to die down before speaking again. When the room was quiet, his voice carried to every corner. You want to know what humanity has been doing during our brief time in space? He asked. You want to understand why we deserve a seat on this council despite our youth? He touched his tablet one more time. The hologram that appeared was different from the others. Instead of showing human history or technology, it displayed something that made several delegates gasp in shock. The image showed deep space, but this was not empty space. Strange shapes moved in the darkness between stars. Ships that were not ships. Structures that hurt to look at directly. and they were moving toward the galaxy. "We have been watching the dark," Daniel said quietly. "We have been scanning the empty spaces between galaxies. We have been looking for threats that you have forgotten could exist." The shapes in the hologram became clearer. They were massive beyond comprehension. Fleets of vessels that dwarfed entire star systems, and they were getting closer. "The Devourers are coming back," Daniel announced. The effect of these words was immediate and devastating. Ancient beings who had lived for thousands of years suddenly looked very old and very afraid. The name Devourers was carved into the genetic memory of every species in the galaxy. It was the nightmare that their ancestors had barely survived 2 million years ago. Elder Kethavar's crystal body went completely dark for several seconds. When light returned to him, it was dim and trembling. "Impossible," he whispered. "Our monitoring systems show no such threat. The Devourers retreated beyond the galactic rim. They will not return for millions of years, if ever." Daniel's smile was grim and terrible. "Your monitoring systems are designed to detect normal space travel. Ships that use hyperspace lanes and follow the rules of physics that you understand." The hologram zoomed in on one of the approaching fleets. The details were horrifying. Ships that seemed to eat light itself, weapons that could unmake matter at the atomic level, creatures that existed in multiple dimensions at once. "The Devourers learned from their last visit," Daniel said. "They adapted. They found new ways to travel that your ancient sensors cannot detect. They have been moving through folded space-time, using techniques that bypass every early warning system in the galaxy." He looked around the chamber at the faces of beings who had ruled the stars for eons. Now they looked like frightened children learning that monsters were real. "We detected them 8 years ago," Daniel continued. "Our deep space arrays picked up the first signs of their approach. We tried to warn your governments through normal diplomatic channels. Do you know what they told us?" The silence in the chamber was complete. "They told us we were too young to understand what we were seeing. They said our primitive sensors were malfunctioning. They dismissed our warnings as the fantasies of a species that had barely learned to walk among the stars." Daniel's voice grew harder with each word. "So we stopped trying to convince you. Instead, we did what humans do best when faced with an impossible threat." He touched his tablet one final time. The hologram changed to show something that made the entire council gasp in shock and horror. Human fleets, massive beyond anything the council had imagined possible. Weapons that violated every treaty of galactic civilization. Ships designed for one purpose only: to kill Devourers efficiently and without mercy. We prepared for war. The council chamber exploded into chaos. Delegates jumped from their seats, shouting in languages that sounded like breaking glass, grinding metal, and dying stars. Some demanded proof. Others accused humanity of lying. A few simply stared at. The holographic displays showing human war fleets with expressions of pure terror. Daniel stood calmly in the center of the storm. He watched ancient beings who had ruled the galaxy for millions of years react like children who had just learned that their safe world was about to end. Elder Kethavar raised his massive crystal arms, and light blazed from his body. The chamber fell silent under the weight of his authority. "These claims are impossible," Kethavar declared, his voice shaking the air. "No species could build such fleets in secret. No one could detect threats that our combined monitoring systems have missed." Daniel touched his tablet, and the hologram changed again. Now it showed detailed star maps with dates and coordinates. Red dots marked Devourer scout ships moving through the outer rim of the galaxy. Devourer scouts first appeared in the Kepler 442 system 18 months ago, Daniel said in a calm voice. They destroyed the automated mining station there and took samples of the local species. Your governments reported it as an industrial accident. Gorvash, the slug, being writhed in his seat. The Nexari investigation found equipment failure caused that explosion. There were no alien attackers. Because you looked for conventional evidence, Daniel replied. Devourer technology does not leave traces that your forensic teams know how to find. They consume matter at the quantum level and reconstruct it into new forms. What you saw as equipment failure was actually a feeding probe testing the local biology. The hologram zoomed in on another system. 3 more scout contacts in the Tau Ceti region 4 months ago. The Centauri Alliance lost contact with their research station on Tau Ceti Prime for 6 hours. When communications resumed, the station reported a computer glitch. I remember that incident, said a tall blue delegate from the Centauri Alliance. Her 4 arms trembled as she spoke. The research team acted strangely for weeks afterward. They could not explain what happened during those missing hours. Daniel nodded grimly. Devourer scouts can temporarily override biological neural networks. They used your researchers as living sensors to study current galactic civilization. Then they wiped the memories and departed. More red dots appeared on the star map. Dozens of them scattered across the galaxy's edge. Each one represented a contact that the member species had dismissed as accidents, equipment failures, or natural phenomena. How do you know all this? Demanded the robot representative of the Vorthak. Collective. Our combined intelligence networks are the most advanced in galactic history. If these events happened as you claim, we would have detected the pattern. Daniel's smile was cold and humorless. You would have detected it if you had been looking for it. But you stopped looking for external threats centuries ago. Your intelligence networks are designed to monitor trade disputes, political developments, and internal security issues. You have no systems in place to watch for extragalactic invasion. He touched the tablet again, and the display changed to show a comparison chart. On one side were the monitoring systems used by council species. They were impressive networks designed to track ships, communications, and economic activity within the galaxy. On the other side were human deep space arrays. They were smaller, simpler, and focused entirely on watching the dark spaces between galaxies for signs of returning nightmare. We have been scanning the galactic rim with dedicated equipment for the past 50 years, Daniel explained. While you perfected your internal monitoring systems, we built sensors specifically designed to detect devourer technology. Luminous. Dawn floated closer to the platform. The energy being's form flickered with agitation. Why would humanity focus on such an unlikely threat? The devourers departed 2 million years ago. Most species consider them extinct or mythical. Because we read history differently than you do, Daniel answered. When we learned about the last devourer invasion, we did not see it as ancient history. We saw it as a preview of coming attractions. The hologram changed to show historical records from the last devourer invasion. Images of destroyed worlds, consumed populations, and broken fleets filled the air above the platform. 2 million years ago, the devourers swept through this galaxy like a plague, Daniel continued. They consumed 90% of all intelligent life before mysteriously retreating back into dark space. Every species that survived did so by luck, not skill. He looked around the chamber at faces that showed growing fear and understanding. Your ancestors wrote detailed records of that invasion. They documented devourer tactics, technology, and behavior patterns. Most importantly, they recorded the devourer withdrawal and made predictions about when they might return. Elder Kethavar's crystal body pulsed with nervous energy. Those predictions suggested millions of years before any possible return. The devourers were severely damaged by their last feeding cycle. They needed vast amounts of time to recover. Your ancestors were wrong, Daniel said bluntly. They underestimated devourer adaptive capabilities. The enemy did not retreat to heal from damage. They retreated to evolve, to improve, to develop new technologies and strategies that would make their next invasion unstoppable. The hologram shifted to show comparative analysis between historical devourer capabilities and current scout ship technology. The improvements were staggering. Modern Devourer ships are faster, stronger, and more efficient than their ancestors, Daniel explained. They have developed stealth systems that make them invisible to traditional sensors. They have created new weapons that can destroy matter at the subatomic level. Most importantly, they have learned to feed more efficiently. Gorvash made a sound like wet metal grinding together. Feed more efficiently? What does that mean? Daniel's expression became darker. The original Devourers consumed entire planetary populations through crude methods. They needed to physically harvest biological matter and convert it slowly into usable energy. It was wasteful and time-consuming. The hologram showed new images that made several delegates look away in horror. Modern Devourers have perfected quantum-level feeding techniques. They can convert living beings directly into pure energy without physical consumption. They can drain the life force from entire star systems in hours instead of years. The chamber fell into stunned silence as the implications became clear. The nightmare that had nearly destroyed galactic civilization 2 million years ago had returned stronger, faster, and hungrier than ever before. "How long do we have?" asked Elder Kethvar, in a voice barely above a whisper. Daniel checked his chronometer. The simple device now carried the weight of billions of lives. "The main Devourer fleet will reach the Outer Rim colonies in 18 months, he announced. "Advance elements will arrive in 6 months to begin systematic scouting of major population centers." The robot delegate from the Vorthak Collective processed this information with mechanical precision. 18 months is insufficient time to prepare adequate defenses. Our military forces are designed for peacekeeping and ceremonial functions. We have no warships capable of engaging such threats. "No," Daniel agreed. "You do not." He touched his tablet one final time. The hologram that appeared showed the true scope of human preparation. Hidden shipyards in distant nebulae, weapon testing facilities in empty star systems, entire asteroid belts converted into fortress positions. But we do. The images were overwhelming. Human battle fleets that dwarfed anything the Council species had ever built. Weapons that could crack planets. Defensive systems that could shield entire solar systems. An arsenal of destruction built in secret over 8 years of desperate preparation. "While you debated trade agreements and cultural exchanges," Daniel said, "we built the largest military force in galactic history. While you celebrated peace and prosperity, we prepared for the war that was coming whether you believed in it or not." The scale of human military preparation was staggering. Hundreds of thousands of warships, millions of combat personnel, weapons that violated every treaty of civilized warfare, all hidden from the galaxy's most advanced intelligence networks. "How?" whispered Luminous Dawn. "How did you build such forces without our knowledge?" Daniel's smile was grim with pride and sorrow. "Because we are very good at war. It is what humans do best. What we have always done when faced with extinction." He gestured to the holographic displays showing human fleets ready for battle. "We took your dismissal of our warnings as permission to act independently. If you would not help us prepare for this war, then we would prepare alone. If you would not take the threat seriously, then we would take it seriously enough for all of us." The truth settled over the council chamber like a heavy blanket. Humanity had not come here seeking membership in galactic civilization. They had come to save it. "The question now," Daniel said quietly, "is whether you will help us fight, or whether you will sit in your comfortable chambers and wait for the Devourers to consume you."